Hello, how are you guys doing today? My channel simply is called Discerning What is True. My name is Brant, B-R-A-N-T, Hunt, H-U-N-T. I'm going to be reading chapter 40 here today from the World's 16 Crucified Saviors, a Metonymic view of the divinity of Jesus Christ by Kersey Graves. Some may wonder why I do these broadcasts. Well, my hope is that some people will look into the truth and how they've been manipulated so many years of their lives, and that so few don't realize that God is truth. And so one who pursues truth is actually pursuing God. You see. So let's get into the reading. Thank you for being here. Let me change one little thing here real quickly. Here we go. So again, like I said in the past, that Kersey Graves wrote this works after the Civil War, basically about 1870. And so he was a brilliant guy, obviously searching for truth himself, you see. So here's the first statement. If Jesus Christ was truly God, or if there has existed such a co-equal and co-essential oneness between the Father and the Son that they can constitute but one being or divine essence, then what is true of one is true of the other, correct? And a chance of names and titles from one to the other cannot alter the sense of the text. Let us then substitute the titles found applied to the Son in the New Testament, that's S-O-N, in the New Testament, to the Father, and observe the effect. So what he's going to do is give you a list here from the scriptures that actually state this. And it's very short. It's not a very long chapter here. So this is from John chapter 7, verses 28. Quote, my son is greater than I, end quote. To whose I? You see. Next one, God can do nothing of himself, end quote. John 5:19. Quote, I must be about my son's business, end quote. Luke 2:49. Another quote from Matthew chapter 20, verses 23. The kingdom of heaven is not mine to give, but the Son's. And it's all S-O-N. It's not S-U-N, but S-O-N. Next one. I have come in my Son's name, and ye receive me not. John 5:43. God cried, Jesus, why hast thou forsaken me? End quote. Matthew chapter 13, verses 28. No man has seen Jesus at any time. End quote. 1 John 1:5. From Ephesians chapter 3:9, Jesus created all things by his Son. End quote. God sat down, that is in heaven, at the right hand of Jesus. Luke 22, verses 69. And I meant to give you that's why I was actually looking into this, sort of forgot. Metonymic definition, I should have shared this earlier with you guys, I'm sorry, is a figure of speech consisting of the use of the name of one thing for that of another, of which it is attribute or with which it is associated with, such as crown in, quote, lands belonging to the crown, end quote. Okay, so let's get back to the quotes here. I have come in my Son's name, and ye receive me not. John 5:43. Quote, God cried, Jesus, why hast thou forsaken me? End quote. Matthew chapter 13, verses 28. No man has seen Jesus at any time. 1 John 1:5. God sat down, apparently in heaven. I'm sorry, I just repeated this. At the right hand of Jesus. Luke 22:69. There is one Jesus, one mediator between Jesus and men. Galatians 3:20. Jesus gave his only begotten Father. 1 John chapter 4:9. God knows not the hour, but Jesus does. Mark chapter 8, verses 32. God is the servant of Jesus. Mark chapter 12, verses 18. God is ordained by Jesus, end quote, in Acts chapter 17:31. The head of God is Christ, Ephesians chapter 1:3. We have an advocate with Jesus, God the righteous, end quote, 1 John 2:1. Matthew 28, verses 18 states, Jesus gave all power to God. God abode all night in prayer to Jesus, end quote, Luke chapter 6, verses 12. God came down from heaven to do the will of Jesus, John 6:38. Jesus had made the Father his high priest, Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24. And last of all, the Son sent the Father, Matthew chapter 21:39. Jesus will save the world by that God whom he had ordained. I don't know why he doesn't have a quote there with the verse. I'm sorry about that. Jesus is God of the Father. That is, John 20, verses 17. Jesus hath exalted God and given him a more excellent name, Philippians chapter 2:9. Jesus had made God a little lower than the angels, Hebrews 2:9. God can do nothing except what he seeth Jesus do, John 5:19. Now, the question arises, is the above representation a true one? Most certainly it must be if Jesus and the Father are but one almighty being. A change of names and titles cannot alter the truth nor the sense. To say that the Chief Justice Chase has gone south, Secretary Chase has gone south, Governor Chase has gone south, ex-Senator Chase has gone south, or Samuel P. Chase has gone south, are affirmations equally true and equally sensible because they all have reference to the same being. The case is to claim to need argument. Should be plan. The case is to plan to need argument. Sorry about that. Again, it's a quotation here. The above reversal of names and titles of Jesus and the Father may sound very unpleasant and rather grating to Christ adoring Christians, simply because it is the transposition of the titles of two very scriptural dissimilar beings instead of being, as generally taught by Orthodox Christians. Quote, one in essence, one in mind, one in body or being, and one in name, as the Reverend Mr. Barnes affirms. Most self-evidently false is his statement, based solely on the scriptural ground. If Jesus is very God, end quote, and there is but one God, then the foregoing the transposition cannot mar the sense nor alter the truth of one text quoted. So that is the end of that particular chapter. So we'll end here and we'll go into the next chapter here. It's going to be called 200. Well, we won't talk about that. We'll start the next one here in a minute. So thank you for this short video, less than 10 minutes. How about that? All right, we'll end it here and we will come back in a little bit. Thank you.